What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Rock Your Brand podcast. Today, we are going to be once again talking about Q4. And I just looked today, and we are, depending on when you are tuning in here, if you're here live, then this will be exactly the amount of time that we have. 133 days until Christmas. I looked that up this morning, which is crazy. And that means that we have less than that to really take advantage of this Q4 opportunity. And what I wanted to do here today is I wanted to go through and share with you how we are able to plan to really crush Q4. And I'm going to go through, and I use the number 30K, and I'm using $30,000 as profit, not as revenue. I pulled our numbers from last year, did just over $87,000 in those 4 months for Q4. And from there, we're averaging between 35 and 40%. All right. So I went with the 35, and that put us right at about 30. So actually we're a little above that, but we're going to go with 30. So what we're going to do here today, though, and you're going to probably need a little pen, maybe a little paper. We're going to do a little bit of working together here because I want you to go through this exercise and I want you to map out what your plan looks like. All right. And how you can get there. And there's 3 parts of this that we're going to be going through. The first part is probably the most important part because that's the planning and really reverse engineering what it's going to take for you to hit your number. And I'm going to be using 30K as the number for us. All right. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, we also have a couple of other things that we're going to be talking about. And those things are also having to do with, well, one of them is with Q4. And the other one just happens to do with Etsy and something that, something could affect reviews moving forward. So I'll just leave it at that. And we will go ahead and we'll go ahead and share that with you here in a little bit. So with that all being said, Chris, are we ready to rock and roll and to get rocking towards Q4?
You missed the obvious cue up of, are we ready to rock some brands, Scott? And I'm a little disappointed in that. You said you might need a pen and some paper. I think just fair warning to everybody, we are going to be doing a little bit of math today at the beginning of this, right? And Scott, in the bullet points that you sent over, you even said more math, right? Which is great, but it's easy math, it's business math. And the reason for that is we have to kind of figure out what we're doing. Right. And before we can figure out what our Q4 profit strategy needs to be, whether it's 30,000, 3,000, 5,000, whatever that number is for you, we need to start backwards engineering this. And so I know math is scary to a lot of people. Scott, I know you're not a big math person. I'm not a big math person. Business math can be a lot of fun. And that's what we're talking about here today. So before you run screaming for the hills, this is not algebra. It's not trigonometry. It's math for money in your pocket, which is really what should motivate pretty much everybody to get rocking and rolling.
The only thing you need is this thing here. You just need your phone with a calculator, or you can even go old school and just get one of those ones that you still kind of, you kind of clack away at and you see the paper coming out there. But that's all that you really need is your phone to do this math. That's all that I used for this. But Bailey says, math. But yeah, profit math is fun. As Dream Talking with Vicky said, profit math is always fun. So that's what we're going to be talking about here today. So I'm excited to share this with you. I'm excited for Q4. My wife's excited, but a little nervous. I'll be honest. Last year, it was the biggest year that we had, and it was all crammed into those 4 months. And really the last 2 months is where everything kind of got dialed up. So we're going to be recalibrating, but hopefully able to still hit those numbers. Now, before we get rocking and rolling here, I did want to give a little shout out to today's sponsor, which is Printify. And we have been using Printify since day one. And they have actually added a lot of products since we've started, and we've used a lot of those products. And that's the cool thing. When you are doing print on demand, you are able to leverage their products that they're putting up, and you can instantly add that to your catalog of your own products without having to buy inventory. The other thing is with Printify that I really like is that their support is top notch. So my wife, if she ever has an issue, She literally goes through the chat and she's usually talking to someone within minutes. And that's a big deal, especially when we get into Q4. All right. Because you will have probably some hiccups and you want your partner to be there with you. And Printify is definitely on board with doing that. Like I said, they have a lot of products to choose from. They're adding new ones all the time and their support is top notch. So if you are not yet using Printify, I would definitely encourage you to give them a try. And you can by going over to brandcreators.com/Printify. Once again, that's brandcreators.com/Printify. And you can sign up over there. And guess what? Here's the cool thing. You can actually sign up and start using Printify for free. That's right, free. Now, if you want to upgrade and get into the package where it'll allow you to get discounts, you can do that as well. And if you're selling a lot of products, it makes a lot of sense. You probably will want to do that. But you can get started and start using their products, selling their products like immediately. So I definitely recommend it. Go over and check them out. All right. With that all being said, Chris, I say that we get rocking and rolling. So I have some notes here. All right. So I'm going to pull up the notes so I don't miss anything. So if you see me glancing down, that's what I'm doing. All right. So the very first thing here I have on my list, and this is what we need to do. And I want you guys to do this with me. So if you're just joining me right now, if you don't have a pen and paper, you can always go back and watch this again. You might want to. But if you do have a pen and a piece of paper, we can do a little back of the napkin math. All right. So what we need to do though, the very, very first thing that we have to do is we have to have a target. Like, what is that target going to be for you? And I want you to write that down or write it in the comments. What is your target that you would like to profit in the 4 months in Q4? So I'm talking September, October, November, and December. That's what I'm looking at right here. Okay. What do you want to profit? Not necessarily revenue. That's great and all. And we can use that number because we're going to need to know, like, okay, what's our profit margin? But what at the end of the day, when the dust settles and Q4 is all over and you are, all done for the year, okay, before the first of the year, and you're all done, what is that number that you want to walk away with? Now, I know some people be like, oh, I want $1 million. Well, of course, right? Like everyone would say that. But what's the realistic number? And I think that's the other thing. If this is your first Q4, your expectations, you need to set them properly. Okay. Yes, you could have a home run and you could do that 30K on one product, but the chances are probably not going to happen with one product. So we want to be realistic. What's the realistic number for you? What would you be happy with at the end of the day, at the end of the Q4 season? What do you want to end up with that you are going to have deposited into your checking account? And I'm talking after all expenses, your ad, money that you're spending, any other tools that you're using, if you're using Everbee, not any of that stuff. What is, at the end of the day, do you want to be in there? And again, this is pre-tax. I'm not, people are going to say, well, what about taxes? Everyone's different there and different, different tax brackets. But like, if you were working for someone and they cut you a check or the bonus that you got at the end of the year, you still got to pay tax on that. But like, what is that number that you want to walk away with after all of the fees with Etsy and all of the fees of running this business? All right. So I want you to think about that, because once we have that number clear, and I'm going to be using the number $30,000, okay, because that was our number last year, and we hit that number last year. We actually exceeded that number last year by about $5,000 or $6,000 in profit, but that was the target. Okay, actually, the target was 25. We did a little better. Okay, so that's what we need to do now. How do we actually figure this out? How do we reverse engineer now that we have the number? Okay, we have this, and I'm going to use 30,000, but you use your number. We have the number. Okay, that's what we need. We need to start there. If you don't have that number, we can't reverse, and go in reverse and kind of figure this out. Okay, so that's the number that we need. So if you have your piece of paper, write that number at the top. Okay, then from there, what we need to do is we need to now say, okay, how much profit do we need to make per day in order to hit that number? Okay. And I know you're saying, well, Scott, I don't know what my profit's going to be yet. Just go with me right now. Okay. Because what you're going to find out is that, and we're going to talk about like ways that we can actually increase this without having to sell more products and all of those things. But what we need to know right now is like, what's that number? So right now, if we took the amount of days, and I know there's, more days in some months, not in the other, like, but I'm just going to say, let's go 120 days. Let's just say we have 120 days to actually execute this. Okay. Now, there's going to be some days are going to be higher, some days going to be lower, but we're going to say average. What is it that we need to make? Okay. Or what is the number in profit that we're going to be able to make every single day to help us hit that number? Okay. And so what I did was I took $30,000, I divided that by 120, and I came up with $250. Okay. So $250, 120 days, $30,000. Okay. So now we've got that number and we're like, okay, cool. $250 a day is what we need to make in profit. Well, now you're like, okay, but again, how much am I going to be making per product? Let's just go off of like $12 profit per item. Now, I heard someone the other day, or someone asked me a question, said a guru the other day had said, an expert said, just go for $5, $5 per product. We don't do that. Like we're not doing, I'm not playing that game. Okay. That means you got to get a lot more sales, right? We're not doing that. Okay. Our baseline is generally $10, but really our baseline is like 12. And we'll make on some products as much as 25 or 30. Okay. It does depend on the product. And that's why, again, once I get into the second part here, you're going to see like why we want to find products that don't just make $12. Okay. So that's what we want to do there. And you're going to find that you're going to have some that are higher, some that are lower, but we're never going to sell something below that. Now, one little caveat here is if we are running a promotion, we're running a launch, we're dialing up Etsy ads on a product because we're trying to get it ramped up, that's a short-term piece there, right? So we might do that and might not make as much profit. We might only make $5 on that product or $2 on that product for 7 days. But the reason why we're doing that is because we want to get ourselves in a position to where we're getting the traffic, and then we're going to be getting those sales, and then we're going to be able to make that money on the back end. That's part of the marketing to get there. Okay. So I don't want you to misunderstand me when I'm saying like we never sell a product and don't make $12. No, there's plenty of times, but it's really when we're promoting. And then what we're doing though is we're promoting so we can then reap the benefits later. Okay. So hopefully that made sense. And let me just throw this out here too. If you want our complete, we call it our 100K blueprint. If you want that, we actually created a guide. If you want that, I'll make sure that you can get a copy of it. Just put 100K in the comments. Just put 100K in the comments and we'll make sure that we get you a copy of that. All right. And Chris, I'm sure that you'll make sure that the people around with us today can get a copy of that too. Okay. More math. All right. We're going to do some more math here. And again, I'm looking down at my notes because I want to make sure I got the numbers right. Okay. Because I did this beforehand. I wanted to be prepared. All right. So if we are able to make $12 per item, okay, how many sales do we need per day to hit our 250? I came up with 21 sales. So we need 21 sales per day at $12 profit. That actually comes out to $252 a day. Okay. So I'm $2 over. Okay, cool. I'll take it. All right. So now you see how we took this big number, we broke it down because we know the target, but we also know the time frame, right? So we have the number, we have 120 days, and then we have, okay, how many products at $12 profit are we going to have to sell in order to hit that number? And we're at 21 sales. Okay. Let me know in the comments if this makes sense and if you're following along. And Chris, do we have any questions so far?
I think the biggest one is trying to understand, Scott, what's realistic and what's not in this time frame. And I know somebody had said, I think it was Miriam said, is $1 million realistic? If you have an existing business, maybe, right? It depends on your niche and it depends on those kinds of things. If you're just getting started, probably not, which then raises the question, Scott, if I'm just getting started, right?
Mhm.
It's the middle of August. We're rolling into Q4. And I know Q4 is technically 3 months. We're using 4 because it really starts in September, right? That's how you got to 120 days and not 90. But if we're just getting started now, what is realistic for somebody?
Yeah. So, okay. So, what is realistic? I think if you're like our first year that we started, which was really part time, and we had no idea what we were doing, and that was my wife. I think her first product was launched in Q4, but like in November, like November 20th or something. So it was really late. And that year I don't even really count, but did a few $1,000s, but that was just starting. And then I believe the following year it was 20,000. And then, kind of scaling up from there. So I think realistically, but also what I know now, okay, about that platform. Now I've known a lot about business because I've built a lot of e-commerce businesses and just businesses in general, but I didn't know the Etsy system and what it took. But I think if you're watching this now, the time that we're here, right, doing this live stream, or you're watching this, the week that it's published, let's say, you've got a lot of time. So if you really hunker down and kind of go through and map everything out and start, and again, we're going to go through, like how to set yourself up for, having a better chance of success by products and things like that, and marketing, right? But I think realistic is depending on what you're willing to put in as far as time goes, right? Because it's not just about creating the product, it's about the research that has to be done. And then from there, yes, the listings. And then from there, making sure that everything's optimized and then answering customer support. So there's a lot to it. So I don't want to give a number like, oh, $10,000 for everyone. It's like, it doesn't work that way, right? It's different for everyone. But I think being realistic, like if this is your first year, just don't expect that you're going to be able to just make $50,000 out of the gate. Like I can't give a number on that, Chris. And I don't think you can either.
No, and I think that's really the guidance, right? Is you have to take a look, go through the process, figure out what's possible in the niche. Is it going to be 100,000? Maybe. Is it going to be 50? Maybe, right? But a few $1,000s is more than reasonable in the amount of time that we are talking about here, right? Are we going to get $1 million between now and Christmas? Somebody might, but chances are we're going to fall into the lower end of that because there is a ramp up period. With that being said, Scott, the sooner we get started, the better off we're going to be, right? And so if we can get started now and we start thinking about what we would like that profit to be, then we can build our plan around that profit. But the biggest failure that anybody has when it comes to goal setting is that they forget to use that SMART goal strategy that we've talked about in the past, right? Strategic, measurable, achievable, right? Or realistic, depending on who you ask, and time bound. So here we have, we know when the end of Q4 is. We need to understand what our goal can be, and it has to be achievable or realistic in that time period. Could we get to 5,000? Probably. Could we get to 10,000? Maybe, right? So if we start with those numbers and we're just getting started now, that's a good place to start. If you already have a few products under your belt, you have your niche built out already, you know where you're going with this, then you can start to ramp that goal up. Scott, do you have a goal this year for Q4?
Well, yeah. So our goal this year is a little different. And the difference is this: we want to do the same. Okay. And some people would say, like, well, why don't you want to grow? Because here's why. I'll tell you why. Number one, this isn't our full-time gig, right? Like, I have other things going on. We're running brand creators. I have other things in my life going on other than just my wife's Etsy stuff. Like, she's pretty much doing all of that. I'm helping her very little. Okay. With that being said, now, because we've been through a season that did that kind of money, we saw what it took. And then we're like, okay, do we want to be that busy, or can we recalibrate a few things to still hit that number without being that busy, if that makes sense? So we want to, I guess the scaling of this isn't so much in the money, it's scaling it to make that same amount, but doing less work. So getting time back, I think it would be the thing, right? So can we do the same without doing as much is kind of like our way of making more, right? It's being able to manage it better. Now, Will we be able to do more? Maybe, because we do have a bigger customer base now, which we talk about. We might be able to, because now I just got to send emails. I don't have to really create new. We'll probably do some things also to bring new people in, not just from the old. So we might do, and we're going to talk about this stuff, but we're going to do more of like, maybe we're going to do a couple more giveaways this year on Facebook and try to build up the awareness over there, because then we don't have to create new products necessarily. We just have to basically, bring new people over to see the existing products. So hopefully that helped.
Yeah, and a couple people in the chat are saying, well, why, if you could make more, why wouldn't you make more? Just bring on a VA or something like that. And the answer is that's not always the answer, right? If you want to make more and you're comfortable building out a team, by all means do that. Just make sure you're doing it intelligently, but don't think, and this is a big mistake, Scott, that I know you and I have talked about in the past, that just by bringing somebody on, that's somehow going to make your life easier. And in fact, it can make it a lot more complex in a lot of different ways. So it is something you're going to want to be careful with, but you can scale this however you want. Right? Once you've done this once, you can come back and say, all right, in your case, Scott, we did $30,000. We actually did more than that last year, right? $30,000 in Q4. If all we did was the same thing, we can probably hit that number. But how do we do that and either make more money or spend less time doing it? And in your case, you are much more of a lifestyle person, right? Than you are driven by the money side of this specifically. Somebody said, hey, I need 20,000 to hit my roof. To replace my roof next spring. Maybe you're going to give up some of that time in exchange for more Q4 revenue, right? In your case, that's not where you want to be. And you know how panicked your wife and frustrated your wife was last year at the end of Q4. And you're trying to avoid that for everybody's mental health, right? And so if we can structure it however we want to, then we can start to say, hey, I'm going to go more for revenue, or I'm going to go more for the time side of this, and figure out how to balance those too. And I think if you have a plan, which is what we're here talking about today, you can easily execute in either of those directions, and it makes it a lot easier to do.
Yeah. I think you brought up a good point there too. It's like, yes, I'm about lifestyle. So like, to me, it's like, it's not about how much more money I can make. And again, like, we're doing other things, right? Like that's not our only thing. Plus my daughter, my 16-year-old, she's in the college recruiting time for beach volleyball. Like, we're very busy in that aspect of it. So to me, it's never been about like, can I just keep making more and more and more? Again, you have to think, if this was my only thing I was doing, I would be thinking along those lines, but it's not. Okay. So I just want to be transparent with everyone. Like, it started as a little part-time thing that my wife is doing just for getting her creative, ness out there, because she loves to create. She's a photographer at heart. That's what we ran a photography studio for years, and she kind of misses that. So it's her way of being creative, but not the business side of it. Doesn't love that as much. But the other thing is, for me to be able to go in there and go, okay, I want to do the same or more, but with less work. So that means I either have to find a way to reduce the cost of the goods, right? Or reduce the cost of advertising, right? So there's ways that I can also refine things, do more, but actually work less. So that's the mindset that we're going into this Q4, like right now. Like, that's what we're doing.
And I think that's the key. And that's why you and I are talking about business math, profit math, right? The back of the napkin, trying to figure out what that goal is. Because once you know what that goal is, you can come into it and you can say, I know that I need to get 5 sales a day. And somebody said 5.6. I think it was Dream talking with Vicky. Vicky, let's round that up to 6, right? Let's just cover our bases on the days that are on the low end of that average, right? Let's round that up to 6. And then you can say, okay, now how do I do that? Well, if I can increase my margins by $1, then maybe I only need 5 sales. Or if I can increase the volume, or if I can reduce advertising spend by doing some keyword pruning or some of those kinds of things, then I don't necessarily need to make as many sales, because we're starting with our current profit margins, right? And so if we can make a change there, then that changes the sales number. Or we can make a change on the volume side and figure out what we need to hit that number at the end of the day. And I think there's a lot of levers, Scott. I know this isn't something we talked about, but Printify is the sponsor of this episode, right? Like, some of the things that people forget about, Printify Premium, right? Like, if you want to improve your margins and you're using Printify, sign up for Printify Premium, right? You save a couple bucks on every product, and it's going to be worth it as you go through Q4. Now, do you need it? No. But if you don't already have that built in, that's an easy place where you can say, hey, I just improved my margins by a few percentage points, right? And in a lot of cases, you can save $3, $4, $5 on some of the products, which makes a big difference in the
It's
margins.
huge.
And that,
Yeah.
that has nothing to do with like them sponsoring it. That's just a nice tip to have because it's something that people don't often think about. And there's similar programs from a lot of different people. And if you look at what you're doing, right, whether it's shipping or you're doing print on demand and you're using somebody like Printify to do it, take advantage of those things. That will change that number. And it might be that instead of 6 sales a day, you only need 3 because you managed to improve your margin on the product cost itself. And you can do some keyword pruning. And then that shifts that number around. But to know where we can start to make a difference, to know how we're going to hit that number, we have to have a number to hit.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you brought that up because if we did some math right now, some very quick math, I don't even need a calculator for this, right? We had over 2,700 orders last Q4. Orders, that's like, okay, there could have been 3 sales inside of that, right? So let's just round it up and say there was 3,000 products sold last Q4. Let's say that we weren't on the Printify premium and we paid what we paid. But then what if we spent, the fee, which is under, what is it now, Chris? Is it $29.99? I believe. So like it's under
Yeah,
30.
if you're doing monthly, it's 29. If you do yearly, it's 25 or 20,
Yeah,
24.99.
Let's just call it $30 a month, right? If I was to save $1 on every product that I sold there, that's $3,000 extra. Okay. Well, let's take out the fee, right? For 4 months. So, 34, that's $120 off of the $3,000. Oh, okay. Excuse me. Right. That's like, you just got an increase in profit because you did that. Okay. And then let's just say some of the products, it was a $2 savings, double that. So that's what I'm looking at. Like, I'm looking at are there levers that we can pull, knobs that we can turn to refine that without being busier? Okay. And I don't mean I still want to be busy. We just don't want to be manually labor busy because my wife did, and we've already kind of tooled some things that was in her process of processing personalized goods and things like that. So it's already been in the works. So we're already working on that, but we want to do the same or more without doing more work. And I don't mean we're just sitting around we don't want to work. No, she wants to do what she does, but she doesn't want to be as busy because it was crazy. Okay. That's what I'm saying. You don't want it to turn into where you're I can't go watch a Christmas show with my family because I have to personalize orders. You don't want it to get to that point. We had someone on our Etsy shop audits, and she said she cooked Thanksgiving dinner every year, Christmas dinner every year. And this past year, she couldn't do those things because she was so busy with her Etsy shop. And no one wants to give up family time and stuff because you can never get that back. Right. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And okay. So thinking about Printify Premium here for a minute, right? If we're able to find something like that, Christmas ornaments, Scott, $10.14 on just free Printify, $7.46 with Printify Premium. Now, I know they say in their documentation up to 20% off, right?
Yeah.
I'm not a math whiz, but somebody corrects my math on that. I think that's over a 20% discount. The pajama pants, which I know is something that's really hot right now, is a $7 difference in terms of the cost, right? So if you're selling even a handful of those, that then pays for the subscription and anything else becomes a bonus. And obviously, the reason I picked Christmas ornaments right now is that's something that people are going to buy over the next 4 months. And it's something I know that was really popular in your wife's shop last year. And so if you have a few things like that, that can dramatically change that number of sales per day. So we need to figure out, 1, what our current profit is, 2, what that goal is, and then figure out where that intersection is. And before we set out this plan, figure out if there's any of these levers that we can pull, right? Have we been spending a lot on ads? Maybe we need to go in and do some pruning. Are we signed up for something like Printify Premium that can help us improve our margins? If not, let's go do that because we know it's going to pay for itself over the next few months. And then we can get into step 2, which I know you're going to be talking about here in just a minute.
Yeah, let's get into it. So guys, if you're just joining us, we just went through the math of and Chris will do a recap here in a little bit, but basically that was the math. We start with our target. Okay. For us, it was $30,000. From there, we go, okay, we've got 120 days for this season. How much does that equate to if I am making $12 per item baseline? Some are going to be higher. Okay. But let's just call it 12. And then we did the math to reverse it back that we would need to sell, what was it? 21 sales per day. Okay. At $12 profit would get us to $252 profit, which gets us to the $30,000. Okay. So that's what we covered so far. So it's reverse engineering your target. Okay. And giving yourself at least a roadmap. So this way here, you can try to hit those numbers. Now, is it always going to work perfectly? No, but that's what we want to do. Okay. The second part of this little strategy and this plan is, and this is a big mistake that I see a lot of people making. Okay. And this is how it's going to make it easier for you to hit your target, by the way, is you need to find products that are in demand. And I have said this, and Chris has said this over and over and over again. And we're going to continue to do it because we have done up to date 27 Etsy shop audits. And I wouldn't say all of them, but a lot of them still don't have or didn't have. They probably do now because we did the audit with them. They didn't have those products that had a high level of demand that could bring people in the shop. Now, we're not saying every product has to be in demand. Okay. And then the question we're going to get, Chris, is going to be like, well, what's a good demand? It all comes down to your number again, right? So if we have to hit 21 sales per day, we need to find products that can total up to 21 sales a day. If you don't do that math and you're just like, oh, let me type in bass fishing hat, and you type it in and you're like, yeah, I mean, I think people are buying it, and you don't do any research. You don't use a tool like Everbee, and you just kind of guess. There's no proof that you can even get there, right? So what we need to do though is we need to do the research there. Okay. And this is the time to be doing it before you get into that season, because what we want to do is we want to plant these in-demand products. And we usually say at a bare minimum, you want 3 to 5. Okay. 3 to 5. Why only 3 to 5? Well, those 3 to 5 products will lead people into the shop. Okay. They will lead people into the shop. Once they're in the shop, well, we're going to have other products that might not be in demand as far as search demand. Okay. That's the key there. If it's not in search demand, and that's really what we're looking at, not necessarily like, oh, that thing is searched a whole bunch. It's searched and purchased, right? Big difference there, right? If you're looking at any of the tools out there that give you a keyword search number, that's fine. But what really matters is on the back end of that, the sales that come from it, right? So I always go off of that. I don't go off of like the views or the search traffic that's coming in. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to find those products that are going to lead people in once they're in your shop. And I want you to imagine this. You go into a shop or into a store, right? You go into a store and you're like, I'm going to go look for a gift for your husband because they're into hunting. And so you go into the Bass Pro Shop because you know they got hunting stuff there. Well, you go in there and there's other stuff in there that you didn't go in for, right? You might have been going in there to look for the hat, and you go in there for the hat and you're like, oh, look at that. I should probably get him that sweatshirt too. Or, oh, look at that. There's these overalls that he can wear with this something, right? You get what I'm saying? Like you're bringing someone in on the intent of what they were looking for, but then you're showing them more of what you have to offer. And that's where you can take, you can take your sales and really, really elevate them, because now we're increasing the order size, not just the customers that have to come through the door, right? We're making it easier for you to have really less customers, but increase the value of the order. So instead of you making $12 per customer, you might be able to make $60 per customer, right? So that's how we look at it. Like, how can we add more products that one customer would buy, even if they weren't looking for it? So those products don't have to be like in demand. And one thing that we do a lot is if we're going off of a design that's doing well on a shirt, let's say, okay, so you might create something inspired off of that. So we know that people are buying the shirt. We know people are buying a design or that saying or something that, is that in that image. We're like, okay, cool. So now we might create something like that, right? Because it's in demand. We know people are buying that, but why not put that on a sweatshirt? Why not put that on a pillow, a throw pillow? Why not put that on a little area rug or a tapestry or whatever else makes sense that they could potentially buy off of that one design? Now, they might not be looking for the throw pillow, but the person that came in on a different search, but they're still our customer because they're looking for bass fishing stuff. Well, they come in and then they see, I don't know, the throw pillow, and they were like, oh, that's cool. And then they add it to their cart. Okay. So that's what we're looking at here. And that's why this step here, once you have your number, now we have to find products that are going to allow us to hit that number. Okay. And that's kind of my philosophy on the, finding the products that lead people in, but then once they're in, giving them more to buy. Okay. And more things that are related. If you're throwing spaghetti at the wall and you're in 10 different niches, probably not going to work. Okay. Because then you have to find, again, $12 profit. You have to find one product in one niche that's going to be able to make up your 21 sales every single day. And it's a lot harder to do. And not to mention, we don't get to do some of the things that we're going to talk about here in the third part of this strategy. So Chris, any questions on that?
The one I know we're going to get, if we haven't gotten it already, Scott, is when you say product, do you mean product type or do you mean design? And typically when you and I are talking about products, we're talking about the design itself, because we can take that design, like you were alluding to a minute ago, that works well on a t-shirt and also put it on a pillow and on a blanket and on a Yeti, or, whatever other things that our audience is likely to buy. And so if we're starting with Etsy, which is what we should be looking at, if we're trying to build this profit on Etsy, we're going to look at the product that is selling, which means the design and the product type kind of at the same time. But really what we're focused on there is, what is the thing happening in that design? What is the reason that people are interested in this? And then when we create our own version, yes, we're going to launch that on a t-shirt if that's where it's selling, but we're also going to launch it on all of the other hot product types. And I know you and I have talked about this in the past, but the trending products tool from Printify is very useful there because it's telling you what people are buying.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, if you go look at it, I can guarantee you Christmas ornaments are skyrocketing towards the top, right? I know the color changing mug is there because that's something that was newer on the marketplace. Yeah. But if you want some other things, some out of the box things that you might not be able to verify that your audience would be interested in, chances are if it's a popular form factor somewhere else, that it's going to be popular with your audience. And if you can start with the design in mind, because you know it's working, then no matter what product you put it on, you have that chance of getting demand. And I think the other thing, Scott, is the add-on products, right? And this is the give a mouse a cookie approach. And we talked about this over and over again over the last few weeks. But if you're going to create a set of luggage, maybe create the luggage tags too to go along with it, right? We want to get that add to cart up. And so if there's something that they would buy this with this, go ahead and create both of those products, right? A pillow blanket combo. Nothing wrong with that. Worst case scenario, they only buy one of the two and you still get the sale out of it. And you can send them back to get the other one later if that's what you need to do. But if there's anything that goes with the product you're creating, if you're not creating that, that is something you're missing out on. Even if there's not demonstrated demand for it in your niche. If somebody's buying a new suitcase, they're going to put a luggage tag on it. And it's either going to be the really crappy paper one that all of the airlines print out and now make you stick on your own bag, which I find hilarious, and then redo it because no one does it right anyway. Or they're going to put a nice luggage tag on there so that they can pick it off when it comes around the carousel because they know that they have their dancing avocado luggage tag on their suitcase and they know that that's their bag.
Yeah. Okay. And so this part right here, this is the research part, right? Like this is where you got to hunker down and just allow yourself time. This is also where I would say, if you're not using Everbee, you want to be using Everbee. And yes, this is a shameless plug, but it's what we're using. It's what we've always used. I've used it from pretty much day one. So if you're not using it and you want to start using it, you can go through our link. Yes, you'll buy us a cup of coffee and we would appreciate that. Help support the channel. But if you go to brandcreators.com/Everbee, you can sign up there. You can try it for free. I believe you get 10 free searches per month, but I would just at least sign up for that thing for Q4, right? Like just sign up and start using it because it's going to be your best friend for the next month as you're doing this product research. So that's something that I definitely recommend that you that you get going on as far as using. It's not hard to use. We've got tutorials on this channel to help you, and they've got plenty as well.
I'd say one ninja trick with this that a lot of people miss out on is if we're talking about Q4 stuff and we want to know what's sold historically, you can use that date filter to say anything that's older than 12 months. Just show me those things. Yep. And then you know that it was around last year and you can start to get an idea of what was happening at this time last year. Yes, if they've been selling really well over the summer or whatever, it's still going to pop up. But at the very least, you know that it was around for the last year and you have more than 12 months worth of data to say, hey, this sold consistently. Here's what the monthly averages are. Here's what I can expect if I launch something similar. So I don't think enough people talk about or use filters within Everbee. It's a great way to find exactly what you are looking for in a much faster way.
Yeah. Yeah. And guys, let us know here real quick in the comments if you would like us to do a live stream on product research in demand, how to look at those numbers, how to look at historical data and things like that. Let us know because we could dedicate one of these live streams to that, but we want to make sure that that's something that would be helpful and useful to you. So let us know in the comments if you would put in there research. Just put research in the comments, and then that way there at least we'll know. We'll have a little bit of a raise of hands here. That would be cool. All right, let's keep moving here. We got a lot more to cover here. Okay, so let's talk about the third thing now. Well, actually, let me go back quick. We got the target, right? We've now figured out like how we're going to be able to get to the target with the numbers, right? How many need to be sold per day, all that stuff. Then from there, now we have to find the products that are going to fill that, right? That are going to be able to allow us to do that. That's in that product research. That's finding the products that are in demand and then putting, more products in your shop that are related to the product that that person just purchased, or that could be purchased together as, an add-on or something like that. Okay. The third one, okay, is optimizing sales. Okay. Optimizing sales. And I've got a few points here that I want to walk you through. Okay. So the very first thing, and again, you want this stuff done before we get into the busy season. Okay. Right now we're doing what we call our Q4 training camp, right? And you can't sign up for it right now. It's done for the year. We've already closed the doors to that thing. And we're already the second weekend. We're heading towards our third week. We're working with a group of people to do exactly what I'm sharing with you here. Obviously we go deeper, in that training, but I want to share with you high level, like these are the different things that you want to get set in place immediately. Okay. As soon as possible. So the first one is the internal discount triggers. Okay. That Etsy gives you access to. Now these here, if you had your own e-commerce website, you'd have to set these things up. It's definitely harder. They make it really easy because all you got to do is just check a box and tell it how much of a discount you want to give it. And then they take care of the rest. All right. So the first one is if someone favorites an item, you can automatically have Etsy send them a discount email. That it would basically say, hey, notice that you liked our one item. How about you take 15% off, right? You literally can just set that up. It's done. It's automated now. Okay. No one has to do anything else other than that person has to favorite it. Once they favorite it, boom, they're going to get that. The second one is, and probably one of the more powerful ones, is the add to cart discount. So when someone adds it to the cart and then abandon the cart, okay, that's what they call an abandoned cart email in the e-commerce world. Basically, someone adds it to their cart, but then they leave and they don't purchase it. They don't complete it. Okay. They're kind of still thinking about it, or maybe they change their mind, right? What this does is it allows you to show up and go, hey, I noticed you were interested in that and you wanted to purchase this item of ours. How about we give you 25% off? Because, for our new customers, like whatever, right? So you have this in place that automatically fires, automatically gets triggered. Okay. And then the third one, again, another powerful one. These are all powerful, but I think the last two are the most powerful. And that one is this one where a customer buys something and then they immediately will get a thank you discount. Say, hey, thank you so much for your recent purchase. How about you take 20% off your next item in our shop, right? We've all seen this. We've seen it at, if you buy something online nowadays, you're pretty much going to get a follow-up that says, hey, take 10% off your next order, take 20% off your next order. It wants to get us back into the shop to take advantage of that. And usually there's a deadline associated with it. Those right there, you can set those things up in like 15 minutes and you're done and you just let them run. Okay. And you just let them run. Now, the other thing is is, I'm kind of moving down the list here, is running sales yourself. So here's what I mean. Like people think like, oh, I got to put my whole shop, in sale mode. You don't have to. You can take a category and say, okay, this week I'm going to discount my sweatshirts, and maybe you're going to run 20% off. And so then you turn that on for a week. And when you run these sales, the thing that happens is, number one, yes, people are motivated by a sale, but also you start showing up in other places of Etsy because they have designated areas of where they're promoting sale items. They also send out emails to tell people about the sale items. All right. And that you also get the little sale badge that's on the listing. And then depending on how long before it expires, you'll also see there's 12 hours left to get this deal. Right? And they're always changing that. You might go on there and see something today, and then tomorrow it might be different because they're testing conversion things when running a sale. But if you don't run a sale, you don't get these benefits. So that's why we want to make sure that we're doing this. And if you're running sales, it might be on those items that are in demand. And the reason why is because those are the ones we know are getting the most traffic, and we want to bring people into the shop, right? So we want to get the attention. We've always heard of like the lost leader. You'll see like buy one Pepsi, get the other 2 liter for free, right? They're probably breaking even on that. Who knows? Maybe they're making a little bit, but they're not making much. But they know they get you in the grocery store, you're going to walk out with a shopping cart. It's the same thing. We just got to get people in the door. All right. So that's the 2 there that I wanted to highlight. I'm going to get into 2 other ones here in a second. But for optimizing sales, if you set up those internal discount triggers, that's something you can set and forget. And then running sales, that's something you can do like once a week. Set it, let it run. All right. So those are the 2 for optimizing sales. I've got 2 more that I'm going to share with you. Before I do, though, Chris, do we have anything that we need to discuss about those 2?
Yeah, I think those are some of the 2 most powerful ones, and those are the ones that are built in, right? It involves a customer actually doing something. But I think something that a lot of people are sleeping on, Scott, that would be really powerful now that we're moving into Q4 is that minimum order discount, right? And if we're following step 2 here, where we're talking about creating the products with their add-ons, where you're saying, hey, you have to order a certain amount and then you save even more, we can increase our cart size that way. The only downside to that discount is that is a shop wide discount. So you don't have any control over what products it shows on. The upside to that is you are guaranteed to get a minimum amount. And so as long as you know your numbers, which was step 1 here, that's going to be okay. What that would do is encourage store wide some additional add to carts of different products. And if we get smart with this and start thinking about it, it's, hey, add this with this, right? We can add that in the image. Hey, make sure you add the luggage tag with the luggage, and you can save 20%. We can advertise it that way as well. And so that's one other thing I wanted to throw in here. I know you have a few more tips, but that was the thing that was weighing on me. The other thing that's interesting, and I'm curious if they resolved this before we get into Q4, is the abandoned carts, right? In our test account, it's still 60 days. I know in your wife's account, it's still 60 days, but in a lot of accounts now, they are testing 3 days, which makes a lot more sense in terms of an abandoned cart, which hopefully will mean that they're even more effective in the future. But if you're not setting up the abandoned cart and the new customer discount, you are losing out big time. I think Etsy calls that their thank you discount. The best time to sell somebody something is when they've already bought something from you. So if we trigger that discount to go out and say, hey, did you miss something? Did you forget something? Did you want to get something else? Go save 20%. We can encourage more orders that way. And then the abandoned carts, 70% of everything that's added to a cart online, Scott, is abandoned and forgotten about. And so even if all we can do is give them that little extra nudge, we're going to see a 2, 3, 4, maybe even a 5% increase in our number of those abandoned carts that turn into sales. That's a great way to pick up some extra sales for a little bit of a difference in margin, but you're getting a customer. And that's what we're after at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. No, I was just actually taking a peek when you were saying that just to see where we were at. And it looks like the abandoned cart is 60 days still. So yeah, 60 days. And it looks like the thank you email, that one there, the thank you email expires a year.
Yeah.
And then the favorited, I don't even know if there's something on there. It doesn't say when that will expire. So it's interesting, but they did say that they're going to be making that shorter. So we have not been But also, I just got this at the top here. New shorter expiration dates for abandoned cart offers. Buyers will now have 3 days to use their abandoned cart offer. We're testing this as a new default setting to learn what gets the best results for sellers like you. Thank you, Etsy. And yes, it will do better. But if you actually, I'm talking to Etsy, by the way, excuse me, I'll be right back. Etsy, if you actually send out 1 or 2 extra emails to tell them that it's going to expire, it will increase your sales. I know. Groundbreaking. It's just puzzling to me, like, why their marketing team doesn't understand this. They need to bring someone in like you and I, Chris. I think that they need to bring us in.
Yeah, I'm gonna dress up as Josh for Halloween, and then we'll just go to Etsy.
We should. You could. You got the bald head now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Josh Silverman for that would be great.
I need a suit jacket that doesn't quite fit, and then we can be good to go.
Oh, we gotta do that. You're gonna have to do like a video spoof that you're gonna pretend to be him, and you'll have we'll do like a monologue and everything. That would be.
Oh,
great.
it's funny that you bring that up. I was actually playing around with an AI face swap for webcam tool yesterday, just for that particular reason.
Oh my gosh. We're going to do something. So stay tuned. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe, because around Halloween time, we're going to have a special video come out where Chris is going to be Josh Silverman. So stay tuned for that. And who would like to see that? Let us know in the comments. Who would like to see Chris dressed up as Josh Silverman and have him do a video as Josh Silverman? Let us know. Just put in the comments, Josh, and we'll see that. That would be hysterical, Chris. I think we're going to make that happen. AZ Kank says, bring back the hair. Oh, all right, cool. Let's keep moving here. All right. Internal triggers, run sales, discounts. Now, if you're running sales, what I'm about to share with you, it could accelerate that. Okay. It can really leverage the sales. Okay. Not just from the things we just mentioned, but it can actually add a little bit of gasoline to the fire. Okay. In a good way. All right. So the next one is email marketing. Okay. Now, if you are brand spanking new and you do not know even what email marketing means, it means that we collect an email address of someone that is interested in our niche or that's a customer, and then we send them emails about our products, about how we're maybe developing our products, maybe about our family business, like whatever, right? Like we're following up with these people. Now, if you're maybe one of the people out there that's still thinking, but Scott, Etsy doesn't let you collect email addresses. Yes, they do. You just have to get their permission, not Etsy's permission, the customer's permission, or the person that is wanting to get the coupon, let's say. Okay. Because there's a way now that we can, and this again is done in Everbee, we can create what they call a landing page, and we can put it on our Etsy shop in the banner, and we can put it in the description, and we can put it in an image slot, and we can say, sign up for our VIP club. And if they go to that link, they have to type it in, by the way. If they go to the link, they're now going to be brought over to our landing page. On that landing page, it asks them if they would like to join. And the only way they can join is if they put their own email address in there and say yes. And then from there, you can send them emails, and they can always unsubscribe. That's also part of it. So for anyone that thinks that you can't send emails to people about your Etsy stuff because Etsy doesn't want you to, yes, they do. They actually developed a program called Share and Save. What is that for? For you to drive your own traffic. And if you drive your own traffic, they're going to track it. And when you get a sale through your own link that is tracked, they give you 4% back on your fees. Pretty cool, right? So they're giving you an incentive to do it. Okay. So email marketing is big. And if you're brand new heading into the season, right now is the best time to start building that list. You can do it pre Q4 or while you're in it by doing something that we do a lot when we're heading into the season is a giveaway. So we'll do a giveaway and we'll advertise it on Facebook. We have a full strategy. We actually have a full guide that breaks down that, but also our email marketing and how we use it. If you would like a copy of that guide, just put email in the comments. If you put email in the comments, we'll go ahead and know that you want a copy of that, and we'll send it your way free. Okay. So that's what we do there. Email marketing. that will drive additional sales. And again, when we're running a sale, guess what? We can now let people know there's a sale. Okay. And we can do something that Etsy doesn't do well. And that is we can follow up with them more and we can let them know about the sale and that it's ending and that's going to expire. And then we'll increase our sales. How do I know? Because we did it. All right. We've done it. And I think the last I looked, they turned on the share and save where you could track your sales through your link. The last I checked, we were over $8,000 generated from that, which we saved 4% on our fees too, by the way. All right. So not too bad. I'll take it. All right. So that's the email marketing side of things. We can then talk about new items. If we're going to release a new item, we can talk about one we're creating that's going to be releasing. We can talk about, hey, there's only 10 more days in order, for you to get your Christmas gift in time. Hurry up, right? Like there's all of this stuff that we can do with the email marketing side of things that will scale your sales too, is being able to do that. So that's that. And then the fourth one here for the optimization for sales is running Etsy ads to the in-demand products. Okay. Not your entire shop, but turning them on for the products that you know or that you think is the most desirable, right? The ones that people are searching for, the ones that people are going to want to buy. And again, these could be products that you're running sales on that you don't make as much money, but it's bringing people into the shop. And that's what we want to do because, again, we talked about that earlier. If we bring people into our shop, we've got other items that they could buy as well. Well, now we increase our order size and that lifts everything. Okay. So running Etsy ads is critical with doing this. And once again, if you're brand new to Etsy ads, we have a guide for that as well. It is free. And you can head, I'll just put that, just put ads in the comments and we'll know that you want a copy of that. But that's what I got for optimizing sales, Chris. We do have, like I said, I have a bonus and optional. We can talk a little bit more about the giveaway thing here because I know people will ask about that. But before we do that, let's just see if we have anything on the optimizing the sales segment here.
Yeah, we actually had a couple people said, "Hey, I'd love to get started with email, but it feels really intimidating." I think it was Pub Giant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody else said, "I'd love an in-depth guide." Drop email in the comments. That's a great place to get started. Is grabbing that email guide. And then somebody else said, "Hey, like I have Everbee. Is there a way? Like what else do I need to do email?" The answer is Everbee, right? They will handle email for you, and they'll even let you build a landing page to get those opt-ins the right way. So Marianella, you can use Everbee to do that as well. If you already have it, you might as well use it. And that eliminates probably the biggest hurdle for people, Scott, I think, is trying to understand another piece of tech, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just call in DJ Khaled from the sky, right? Another tool. We don't need another tool. We just need Everbee. That'll do the demand side of this. That'll help us on the promotional side of this. And I think using all of those tips you just gave on the sales optimization together is really powerful, right? Not only, and we didn't even mention this when we were talking about increasing margins, the share and save program where we're going to save 4%, right? We're going to increase our margins 4% just by sending people back to Etsy to buy.
Yep.
But we also have that increased traffic and an increased conversion rate if we're doing all of those things in conjunction. So my suggestion would be make sure you're running those internal discounts, make sure you're running sales, do your email marketing. If you haven't started yet, it's not too late, but you should get started now-ish if you want to have a list that's going to be useful for Q4.
Yeah. Let's see here. I'm not in screen yet. Am I? Am I screen? I'm looking at something here because I was going to share something else. Okay, now I am. Cool. I just noticed, Chris, I was logging in. I was going to take a peek at what our total was on that. But also something else just popped into my account. I'm wondering if anyone else sees it. But basically now, if you go into your marketing tab, sales and discounts, you can see here it says encourage bigger orders. Set up a discount with an order minimum to help boost order value and appeal to deal-seeking shoppers. So now what you can do is you can choose the discount, like I said, that the minimum for the shoppers. So it's going to encourage them to add more to their cart. We've all seen this work on regular e-commerce sites where it says, spend $99 and get free shipping, right? We've seen that. So then you try to keep working it up till you get your free shipping. Well, in this case, we're able to now set that number. right? So if we're like, hey, spend $40 and you'll get 10% off. If you spend $60, you'll get 20% off. Dick's Sporting Goods has done this forever. So that's a really cool thing. This wasn't there, I don't know, maybe a few days ago. At least I missed it. If it was.
Yeah, that's what I brought up when I was talking about the other thing, the discount feature that people sleep on is that store-wide minimum order discount. And I know they're making it bigger. It's been around for a while, but in a lot of accounts, it was hard to find. Now, over the last few weeks, they've rolled it out, and it's right at the top of that sales and discounts tab now. So you should be able to set it up very easily. Like I said a couple minutes ago, the biggest downside to that is it is shop-wide, so you don't have any kind of granular control over it. But do you care if you're saying, hey, we're going to give you 20% off shop-wide, and you can just add any two things to the cart? We're going to be okay with that, right? The question I know, Scott, we're going to get on that is if somebody sets that up and they have an abandoned cart coupon, or they have a thank you coupon, or they have, you're running a promotion otherwise, do those things stack? And the answer, generally speaking, is no. Can you find a weird exception where you created something? Yes. But generally speaking, the percentages, Etsy will just give the best deal. So if you had one that was that and free shipping, they would use that one. If you had one that was just 20% or whatever that number is, and no free shipping, and one that was 15, they can't stack those two. Etsy would just give them whatever the better deal is, which in that case would be 20% off.
Yeah. And the other thing I'll say here too, and just for people that are thinking like, well, how do I run this discount? I'm not going to make, as much money. I think a lot of times people are undercharging to begin with. So I think you need to really look at your pricing and see if what you're charging is too little anyway. Right. Like, so I think what might be happening is you might be seeing what other people are charging and you're trying to match them. So I always like to put like, what is the actual price that I should be charging for this? So if there's a sweatshirt and you're not charging $50 for the sweatshirt, like shame on you. Okay. Because a good quality sweatshirt, I don't know where you've been shopping, but any quality sweatshirt is going to be $50. Okay. And yeah, you can get them on sale for 40, but a good quality sweatshirt is like $50. If you're going Nike, you're talking like $70 nowadays. Right. So we're not going there, but I'm just saying, like, if you have a good quality, now, if you have a crappy sweatshirt and it's cheap, yeah, it doesn't represent that. So I just think like, and we did this on a few of our Etsy shop audits where people were just undercharging. Right. So it makes it easier if you can set your price to what it should retail for, and then you can add your discount and then get it down to where you're still making a good profit margin. I have no problem with that. I'm not a fan of like just jacking your price so you can run a discount. Like, no, I'm not saying that. All right. So, all right, let's wrap this up with the little bonus here that I wanted to share with you guys. And that is, I already kind of talked about it, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper. So we've been, like I said, we've been building e-commerce brands now for over 10 years. And the one that really comes to mind is one that we built about 6 years ago, sold it about 3 years ago, something like that. Chris will probably know the closer date than I remember. But the point is this: we built an email list before we even sold our first product. Let me say that again. We built our email list before we even sold our first product. So what we did was we built a list of people that we knew would be interested in our product. So I'll give you an example. We were creating products at the time and we were selling them on Amazon. We were selling it for a popular kitchen item. Okay. And so what we would do is we were creating accessories that could be used with this device. And so what we ended up doing is we ended up giving away one of these devices in exchange for someone's email. And you might say, well, Scott, why would you do that? Because I know if someone has one of these things, there's a greater chance that they're going to probably need to buy the accessories for this thing, right? It's like if I was selling accessories for the Blackstone griddle that I've got, like say I was going to sell a cover for it. Well, if I gave one of those away and did a giveaway for it, I know that everyone that signed up either wants one of those or is going to get one of those or has one of those, right? And they want it. They want another one, or they want to give one away as a gift because they love it so much, right? So now I know that they're going to need those accessories or they're going to potentially want them. right? So we did that. We built up an email list. And at the time, I think it was around 5,000 email addresses we built over about like a 30 or a 40-day period. And then from there, we just followed up with those people when we were going to do a launch on these accessories. And we were able to launch, I believe it was like 4 or 5 products within the span of like probably like a month and a half. And we were able to sell 100+ items in like 3 days of each of these. And at the time we were selling them on Amazon. So then from there, that also boosted our ranking on Amazon. And then we went on to sell those products on a regular basis. So the same thing applies here, and the same thing that we've done here with Etsy. We built a list. We did it through the giveaway model. And then when we gave away, and now the cool thing is though, when you have your own products, right? Now you can include those. So when we did the old way, like I said, or the first one that we did it for the actual item. Well, once we had our accessories built, now guess what the next giveaway was? It was the item plus 4 of our accessories that came with the bundle. So now people are aware of our products. Same thing goes here. So what we've done is we'll take 4 or 5 of our products that we know people would want. We then advertise the giveaway on Facebook, really low budget, $5 a day. And we do that we usually do it for 30 days, but sometimes we've done it for 14 days. Okay. And then what we'll do is we'll just advertise it there to our ideal audience, and then they would sign up. And then the people that win, or the person that wins, great. Everyone, it's like, oh, that sucks, I didn't win. But then you're like, wait a minute, you're not a loser, you're a winner. We're going to give you 25% off for the next 5 days on the thing that you didn't win, right? Or the things that you didn't win. And that's worked really well. And we've had people that have been on our list that signed up for the giveaway a year ago, and they purchased a year later. And I tracked one last year. One lady bought $350 worth of stuff off of the giveaway, but she hadn't purchased for a full year. So it works, and you can see it through the sales because, well, when you send an email, you can track it. You can see how many opens you have. You can see how many clicks you have. You can see how many sales you have. You can do that all in Everbee, by the way, Everbee email, which, by the way, if you're not using it, I definitely recommend you do. If you head on over to brandcreators.com/Everbee, you can sign up there and you can start using email, and you can do your product research, and you can do keyword research. You can do all that stuff. So that's, to me, like, it's optional, but it's so powerful. And as we're heading into the holiday season, it's even a better opportunity now because people, they're looking for things for gifts, right? So if you have something that's giftable, oh my gosh, and then they're going to tag their friends, they're going to share it with other people. And then that post can go and get a lot of extra views. So if you would like to see a little bit more of a deeper dive on that, we have that free resource. It's our email marketing playbook. If you would like a copy of that, just put email in the comments and we'll make sure that we get you a copy of that. All right. So that's what I got on that, Chris. It's super powerful. Also brings awareness to your brand when you're running these. You also can run it to your email list again when you do another giveaway, because then that adds goodwill and it brings attention to your brand. There's a bunch of stuff you can do. I could go on for like the next 2 hours on it, but I'm not going to. Chris, we got any questions on that?
No, I think the biggest sticking point people seem to have on the email side of things, Scott, is just the confidence to do it, right? And the tech side of this is a lot easier. And somebody just said, the reason that I haven't done it more is because I'm a super introvert. I'm trying, though. And I think that's where something, Scott, like the giveaway strategy becomes extremely powerful, because we don't have to ask people to join the list, right? It's one cool thing. Give me your email address, right? It's caveman marketing. Want this, do this. Very simple, very straightforward. We're giving them something in exchange for their email address that is of value to them. And if we can start with that, then we don't have to worry about being introverted. I think the other place where that starts to sneak up on people is they think they have to write these giant, elaborate emails and share all of the details of their personal life and all of these things. And that's actually kind of the opposite of what really works well in email. Short and punchy. Hey, I was thinking of you this week. Go here, do this. Or I created a new product. Go here, check it out. That works just as well as the big flowery, here's all of the things about my life emails. So if that's what you're worried about, you don't have to worry too much about that either. You can keep it straightforward, straight to the point, and just let people know. You do have to create a little bit of a connection, but something as simple as, hey, I was thinking about you this week, or hey, I created a new product and I thought you might want to check it out. that creates enough of a connection in a lot of cases to bridge that gap. And then as you get that under your belt, you can start to experiment with some of the other things. Am I missing anything on the email side of stuff, Scott?
No,
I know we have 9 hours that we could cover on that.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
between email, and pick a niche, people could probably cover our rants on those verbatim at this point. But those two things really are the things that set you up.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. I think that's good. And yeah, I mean, the email thing can be intimidating, but it doesn't have to be. And I mean, I've done other free trainings right here on the channel. If you go through the live playlist, you can scroll through there and you'll see some that we've done on email. I literally showed how I wrote an email. And I mean, normally they're like under 400 words, right? Like it's like short emails, straight to the point, but yet they work because they're conversational, they're relatable. It's like a real person. It's not like a big business. And there's call to actions in there, meaning, go here to get this or go here to check this out. So yeah, you want to just keep it simple. I think that's how I like to keep it super simple, and it works. All right, cool. So we do have questions, Chris. Did you want to do a quick recap and then we can maybe answer some questions and then we'll move into those other couple of topics that we wanted to talk about?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, cool. Let me tee it up for you and we'll do that little recap. Let's see. All right, cool. And let's see. And guys, if you have any questions, just drop them in the comments. We'll try to get to them here in a little bit. All right, cool. So, well, there's 3 steps that you need to follow to crush Q4 sales. We just did a full live stream, but well, that was over an hour long. And I want Chris to actually give us a full breakdown. And if you can do this in under 10 minutes, that would be amazing. So everyone else can benefit from what we just shared. So Chris, what are those 3 steps to crush Q4?
Oh man, Scott. So there's 3 and then there's a bunch inside of that, but let's just break it down to the 3 big ones. The first thing, and you and I have talked about this in the past, anytime somebody says, "Hey, what's possible on Etsy?" or "How can I get to this goal?" We have to reverse engineer what our goal is. We need to know what the target is before we can really create the rest of the plan to start to shoot for that target, right? If we blindfold ourselves and just say, "I'm going to create as many designs as possible and see what happens," that's not a great approach. And so what we did is we took a look at what happened in your store last year in Q4. And we start with the profit in mind. We can have $200,000 in sales, but if we make $5 from that, it's not great at the end of the day. So what we're really looking at is reverse engineering the profit target. In your case, you averaged, I think it was between 35 and 40%. We went with the real low end of that. We said, okay, we did about $30,000 in profit after ad spend, after product cost, after all of those kinds of things. So if we're thinking about Q4, which for e-commerce really runs from September through December, it's not 3 months, it's closer to 4. Then we need to make $250 a day in profit to get to that $30,000 number. Obviously, all you have to do is take your ideal profit number and divide that by 120, right? That's how many days you would have roughly in that period. That's how we got to $30,000. A little bit of more math here for everybody is we also want to break that down to the sales per day level. And if we can make $12 per profit, $12 per sale in profit, that would mean we need 21 sales a day, right? To be able to get to that. That gives us actually, Scott, $2 extra to work with on a daily basis, but I'm okay with overestimating what we would need. And we can't get half a sale. So let's shoot for that 21 instead of 20.8 or whatever the math actually works out to be. So set that profit target, divide that by the number of days and the amount of profit in dollars that you typically make, and that will tell you how many sales per day that you need to make. Now, Scott, I think where a lot of people mess up with this is they think that is the number, that is absolutely the number that they have to shoot for. Once you know that baseline number, right? We're saying, hey, we need at our current levels 21 sales per day. Where can I change and improve before we start creating things, before we just go whole hog and launching as many products as possible? Is there a place for me to change or improve my margins? If we're averaging $12 in profit per sale, can I make that $13, $14, or $15 by making some changes? Something like moving to Printify Premium, where you're saving up to 20% on your cost of goods, and in some cases, even more than that. that can make a huge difference, right? If we add 20% to our margins, that takes us down to 16, 17 sales a day instead of the 21 sales a day. The other place where a lot of people can save on this is by optimizing, not turning off, and we'll talk about that here in a minute, but optimizing Etsy ads, cutting out some of the excess spend. That will also improve the margin. So anything we can do to improve our margins then reduces that number of sales a day. Let's say we have everything perfectly optimized. We know what that number is. We know it's going to be that 20 or 21 sales a day. Then what do? Step number 2 is going to be finding products that are in demand. And the key here, Scott, adding products on. So things that go with other things. And when you and I talk about products that are in demand, we're typically talking about the designs, not the product itself, right? When people talk about a product, a lot of times they will say, hey, I saw that people were selling mugs. They're selling a lot of mugs. So that's what I'm going to rock and roll with. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is the design itself. And what we're really looking for here are higher profit items, right? Mugs, typically not going to have a great profit margin, but things like pillows, blankets, pajamas, tree skirts, all of those kinds of things have much higher margins and have a higher perceived value. And so if we can find a design that's doing well in our market and a product type that has a higher margin, we've found kind of that perfect marriage between the two. But the first step that we're going to be doing here is by taking a look at what sold last year and what is selling well this year around the specific holidays. So what's selling well for Halloween? What's selling well for Thanksgiving? What's selling well for Christmas, specifically in our niche? So if we're selling bass fishing stuff, which bass fishing designs sold really well at Halloween, Thanksgiving, or Christmas last year? How can we adapt those, make them our own, and go from there? Once we have those designs, then we can start to take a look at the different items. Even if we find a design that's selling well on a mug, we can apply that to some of the higher profit things, even if those aren't the in-demand products on Etsy. Because once we get a customer, we know that a customer in that niche is likely to buy other things. And if we've gotten them in the past, even if it's not something that they're looking for actively or people are actively buying on Etsy, when they come back to our shop, when we drive them back with email or we get that ad in front of them, they're extremely likely to buy it, even if that's not the thing that is currently in demand from a physical product standpoint. So don't let that bog you down. Don't get stuck on the actual product type. Focus on the design to start with. We can always apply that across a variety of different higher profit items, even if we're not seeing the specific demand for those. And I think the sub point, Scott, so 2B that I want to make here is people often miss out on ways to increase the cart value or the value of that customer. One of the easiest ways to do this is to think about what the next thing is that somebody would need or something that they would buy together. If you are buying a Christmas tree bowl, chances are you're buying a Christmas tree skirt. And for those of you guys wondering what a Christmas tree bowl is, I'm thinking about like the Christmas tree watering things. I don't know what they're called. You guys can figure it out, right? But if you're buying a Christmas tree skirt, you might buy that. You're probably buying some Christmas ornaments. Another way to think about this, blankets, maybe you're buying some pillows, maybe you're buying some pajamas. If you're buying luggage, a luggage tag, a travel journal, right? Any of those kinds of things, if they go together, figure out a way to include those in your store as well. And what you'll see when you do that is not only do you get to put a couple extra lines in the water from an SEO organic traffic standpoint, but you'll start to see that average customer value really start to sneak up because they're going to say, hey, I'm buying the new luggage. I need a new luggage tag anyway. My old one got caught up in that baggage carousel in Houston that one time and it got ripped off. So let me go ahead and get the bag tag that goes along with the luggage. You have increased your order size. You've increased the profits and you haven't had to acquire an additional customer. Plus you've made your customer's life a heck of a lot easier because they've already gotten all of the things that they need from you. So if you're looking for products, find things that are in demand from a design standpoint. Look for the higher profit items that you can apply them to, blankets, pillows, pajamas, tree skirts, even some of the ornaments that you can find. Places like Printify have really good demand and go from there. One of the best ways to do this, as Scott just threw up on the screen here for us, is by using something like Everbee. And we can find and filter the results in our niche in any niche that we're looking at, buy a variety of different things. And one of the best ways to do this, a hidden tip for everybody, is use the date filter or the age filter in Everbee. Set it to 12 months. And what that will do is when you go in and you run your bass fishing Christmas search, right? Bass fishing Christmas mugs or whatever it is, you can look at the stuff that you know was selling last year because the listing is older than 12 months. You can get an idea of what the demand was like last year, and that will help you with your planning because you already know your target. You know what the overall demand was last year, and you know that you can get a percentage of those sales. So if you're not using something like Everbee to validate your products, make sure that you go check them out. If you go to brandcreators.com/Everbee, you can take a free trial and get a few free searches that way. You'll get the hang of it. You'll figure it out. And I'm guaranteeing you that that is going to help you find and filter through these products. Scott, once you have those products, what do? Right? We have to go into optimizing the sales. And this for me is a big one. This is something that people miss out on all the time. They throw up products and they just pray to the Etsy gods that the organic traffic is coming in. Well, that's not our strategy, right? And that's not the strategy you should be using. Yes, you know your profit, you know that number, you know what products you are launching. But if we're not doing a few things, we're leaving a lot of potential money on the table. So if we're talking about optimization, which is the third and final thing we should be thinking about, step number one here, and it should be obvious at this point to everybody, is setting up the internal discounts and triggers inside of the marketing tab in your Etsy store. Things like abandoned carts, favorites, thank you coupons. Make sure you are setting those up. Those not only lead to repeat customers, but they lead to increased sales, period. You get that abandoned cart rocking and rolling. You get to pick up an extra few percentage points in terms of your conversion rate. That can make all the difference, not just in terms of the Q4 sales numbers, but in terms of your organic rank, because we all know Etsy's algorithm loves more sales and they love conversion rate. So if we can set a few of those things up, great way to get started. Thing number two here, if we're not already running some seasonal sales and discounts, consider doing that. We don't have to do this all the time. And this is a question I know you and I get nonstop is, hey, do I have to constantly run sales? Is this, an around the clock thing? It doesn't have to be, but think about doing it strategically throughout Q4. You can run a Halloween promotion, a Thanksgiving or a Black Friday promotion, and maybe a last week before Christmas type of a thing. You can set those up either for individual products or entire categories across your shop. What that's going to do, again, is just boost your conversion rate. Yes, you lose a little bit of the margin there because you're giving a discount when you set that up, but you are going to increase the overall number of sales coming into the store, which helps you get to that number faster. And even more importantly, you're acquiring a customer who can purchase from you again and again. Two things, Scott, I think that people miss out on from a sales optimization standpoint. I know people can probably put it in the comments before I say it, but thing number one is going to be running Etsy ads to in-demand products, right? And typically when we're talking about Q4, we're going to want to turn those on 45 to 60 days in advance at a minimum of what that holiday is going to be. So we want to make sure that we have those ads up and running. And we don't have to run these site-wide, but they should be for the things that are going to be in demand right now. So if we're coming up on Halloween, we should be running ads to those Halloween products to make sure we're capturing as much of that traffic as possible. Same thing goes for Thanksgiving and Christmas. The second thing from a sales optimization perspective, I think that people sleep on or miss out on is making sure that we have an email list. And if you guys are on Etsy, you don't have an email list, you can use Everbee actually to create that email list for you. They make it very simple. But once you have that list, Scott, it allows you to create some built-in traffic to drive to new items or your sales. And it just makes everything a lot more efficient. From a new item standpoint, the thing that Etsy is looking for their algorithm is traffic and sales. What's the best way to get that right off the bat? Well, yes, we should be turning on Etsy ads. I'm a huge fan of that. But if we have a built-in email list, then we can drive some initial traffic. And those people are actually the highest likelihood to convert of anybody because they know us, they trust us, and they've bought from us in the past in a lot of cases. And so if we can do that, that'll help us launch new items, but it also makes our sales and promotions that we're running, even if we're just doing it for something like Black Friday or Cyber Monday, a little bit more effective. If you aren't sure of how to do this, I think a bonus tip here from a sales optimization perspective, Scott, would be to build that email list using a giveaway strategy. You and I have referred to this in the past as the fishbowl method. And essentially what we're doing is we're giving away something that is niche specific. So if we have some really cool bass fishing Christmas tree skirts, we're going to give those away in exchange for the email address. And we create a giveaway. We pick one winner. And then at the end of that giveaway period, we send an email to everybody who opted in. We said, hey, Scott Volker is the winner. But because everybody's a winner here at Chris's Bass Fishing Emporium, we wanted to give you 20% off anything in the store. And we can drive that traffic right over. We can create them either an individual promo code or just drive them over to a 20% site-wide sale. We get that traffic and sales, and we're able to do two things when we do that fishbowl method. One, we build the email list, which is that asset we can use again and again, like we were just talking about, to launch new products or promote our sales. But we also bring immediate awareness to the products that we are focused on. And so, Scott, if we can do just those three things and set up our Q4 plan now, we'll be set up for success. So just to recap really quickly, we need to reverse engineer that target. We need to know how much profit we're shooting for and work that back to how many sales per day we need. Once we have that number, we're going to look for the products that are in demand. If we have data from last year, let's use that. If we don't have data from last year, or we want to add in some new things, use something like Everbee to filter and find those products. Don't forget those add-on products, the things that go with other things, the luggage tags with luggage, to increase that even more and get your higher profit items up and running. Once we've done that, we know our target, we know our products, it's time to optimize sales, set up those internal marketing triggers, run a few sales and discounts, turn on those Etsy ads if you haven't already, and start building and sending emails.
Beautiful, man. That was a mouthful. Good job. There's a lot to cover there, huh? Well, you did a great job. And, we generally do that because we know everyone likes a recap, but also there's a lot of people that won't see this live. And so we're going to take that portion and create its own little snippet of this live stream. So that's why that's why we do that. And Chris is a master at it. So good job, buddy. All right. Take a deep breath, take a little sip of water over there in your little avocado I love Chris mug.
This is coffee, which I probably don't need right now.
Is it coffee?
Yes.
Chris is drinking coffee today.
This is water. I almost always have coffee.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a cold
you were a coffee
person.
guy anymore. I thought you were more of a tea guy.
I usually do one cup, and if we're gonna be on live, I'll usually sip on it. Like I poured this, I think, at 9, right? So I'm working through it. Elysian Workshop is giving me some guff in the chat. He said, all I can see is Gary Oldman from The Fifth Element now. He said he likes the bald look, but he'd like to see me with the Gary Oldman hair from The Fifth Element. Scott, I know we had a lot of questions. Do you want to dive into that? Or did you want to go into the next thing that we were going to do?
Well, how about we do this? Yeah, we'll go and do a little fire round here, maybe 10 minutes of some Q&A. And then we'll cover, we've got 2 other things we wanted to cover. So we'll see if we have time for both of them. I definitely wanted to share the review thing. So we'll see if we can cover both of them, but we can definitely do that. But before we do, I did want to give another shout out to today's sponsor, which is Printify. So right now, they are the only provider that we are using in our own business as far as our print on demand. And they're the ones that we started with over 3 years ago. And the reason why is because, well, they have great products, always adding new products. We can put a product on the market within hours of it coming on the site. So that's always a good thing. We don't have to buy inventory. That's the great thing about print on demand. But the other thing is their customer support. And when you have an issue come up, which you probably will with a customer, well, they're going to be there to help you. So my wife, if she ever has a problem, she just gets right into the chat with one of their service people, and we get a chat going almost immediately. And then usually it's solved within minutes. So I can't stress that enough. When we're heading into Q4, it's going to get busy. You need a good support team there for your printing. And if you are hiring someone to do the job, you want to know that you have a reputable company. Well, Printify is definitely going to make sure that you're connected with the right partners. All right. So Printify, if you are not yet using them, I recommend you using them. And if you want to launch new products, there's no easier way than just to go over to their catalog and find the products that you want to sell, put your designs on those products and get them live and have a chance to make more sales. So if you want to head on over to Printify, try them for free, by the way. And it's not even a trial. It's like you can just sign up and use it, and you'll just pay whatever the product is, and you can start selling it. If you go to brandcreators.com/Printify, you can go ahead and get started. Now, if you want to upgrade to the premium, you can actually get money off of those products every single sale. And so if you save $1 or $2 here or there on those, it adds up. Last year, we had over 2,900 orders go through. And well, because we're a premium member, we definitely made well over our investment on that tool or on that service. So I definitely recommend Printify. If you haven't started using them, try them today. Head on over to brandcreators.com/Printify. And I promise you, they will help you. All right. So with that being said, and that out of the way, let's go ahead and let's answer some questions, Chris.
So we actually had a question about Printify Premium that just came in. It was, if I sign up for Printify Premium, do the reduced prices get applied to existing listings or only the new ones? And because your listings on Etsy aren't Printify, it doesn't matter, right?
Nope.
So when you put in that next order on Printify, you will get the discounted price. And they actually have an entire help article about this, because in a lot of cases, it'll show you the old price if you've ordered it in the past. But when you actually go to submit that order, it will submit at that premium price, which sounds like it should be more because you're saying premium price, but that's the discounted price. So once you sign up for premium, you actually won't see the 2 price points anymore on anything new that you're creating. You'll just see the premium price, which in a lot of cases is around 20% off, which is fantastic. If we're talking about tip number 1, right? Optimizing our products for those small things that we can see. Elysian said, I'm a fan of Chris growing his hair to one side, Fifth Element style. That was the Gary Oldman joke that he was making in the chat. Misha, I wanted to give Misha a shout out, Scott. She said, I started last year in July. My Q4 sales were only 5,400 this year so far. My sales are 42,000.
Nice.
And I'm hoping this can give an idea for those who are just getting started. Now, Scott, what proportion of sales last year was Q4?
Well, it was a good portion. I'd say, I mean, again, I'd have to look at the numbers 100%, but I'd say at least 70%. Yeah.
Right. So if we're looking at 42,000 this year, we're in a good place for Q4 to do a heck of a lot more than the 5,400 we did last year for Misha. So I think that's great. Woodcrafter said 4 to 7 sales a day for me, but I'm not even getting a sale a month. So 4 to 7, I guess, is the goal. How do you make that jump? People aren't all of a sudden going to start buying your stuff. And if I remember correctly, one of the interesting things with Woodcrafter, she's not necessarily on the POD side, I think. And Woodcrafter, correct me in the chat if I'm wrong on this, but I think she's more on the handmade side of things. Is there a big enough difference between 1 or 2 sales a month throughout the rest of the year and Q4 to get to 4 to 7 sales a day? Or do we have to really focus on step number 2 here of finding the in-demand products? What are your thoughts on that, Scott?
Yeah, go ahead and give me the mic, Chris, because I got a little something to say here. Here's the deal. Okay. And I'm glad this question came in because this was a topic I wanted to talk about here. And it has to do with, it doesn't matter if you're selling print on demand. It doesn't matter if you're selling handmade. It doesn't matter what you're selling. The most important thing that you need to make sure is that you have products, or a few products even, that are being searched for on a regular basis and that are being purchased on a regular basis. The first plan of attack here for you would be to get into research mode and find products that you could hand make, that you could create. Because if you only have 1 sale a month, I want you to show me then, and I'm talking like we can talk right now, I want you to show me, where is there proof that you should be getting more than that? Right? Where's the proof? We need proof of sales. This is way different than just opening up a shop on a busy street and people are walking by and they're just going to come inside and see what you got to offer, right? It's different than that. People are coming to a platform like Etsy, like Amazon, like Walmart, wherever, and they're searching for something that they are interested in potentially buying. So this sets up perfectly the question that I wanted to answer today anyway, and that is like, how do you crush Q4 sales? The first thing you have to understand is you need products that are being searched for, and you need to not just search for, but that are being purchased. And the way that you do that is you do research. So Everbee, we've talked about them. We're going to keep talking about them because that's a tool that I think every single seller needs, even if you only use it for 3 months or 4 months. You can look through the historical data of, millions of products that have sold in the past, but you have to look within your niche, or you need to find sub niches that are related to your products. The first thing that I'd be doing is I'd be trying to find the products that are selling, and I would try to recreate something that was like that, or that was going to satisfy that search. It doesn't have to be the exact product, right? If I'm seeing that people are buying farmhouse signs, I'm going to go and find signs that are popular, and I'm going to see how I can create something similar so I can start showing up for that search. And if I show up for that search, then I know there's a good chance that I might be able to sell some stuff. But if I only have this pool of people, there's like 10 people a month that are searching for the thing that you have to offer, and I get one sale, that's pretty good conversion rate, actually. But it's just a small pool, right? Or a small pond. So what we need to do is we need to open that up. So I see so many sellers. We've done 27 Etsy shop audits to this point right now. All right. And out of those, there's always room for us to say, okay, you're not getting enough traffic. Why aren't we getting enough traffic? Well, let's look at your products. Well, we're looking at the products. Did you do research to see if there's anybody really buying these yet? Well, yeah, a little bit. But then we go and look at it and we're like, the numbers just aren't there. So we need to rethink, and we need to strategize on how we're going to be able to get traffic into your shop. And the way that you're going to do that is through research and really just spending time in that research mode to find 3 to 5. I like 3 to 5 products. And I always use this example because I think it demonstrates my point. If you have someone that is looking for, like, let's just say someone is looking for a gift for their husband, and that husband is into fishing, they're going to probably look, if they're not doing it online, they're going to look for a store nearby that sells fishing stuff, right? And then they're going to walk into that store and they're going to look for the thing they're looking, or that they want to buy. It's the same thing on Etsy. Someone's going there and they're like, fishing gift for husband, right? Teacher gift for math. It's a search base, but it's more than that. It's okay, we get the searches, but where are the sales? So it's one thing to have the searches, but are people actually buying this item? So I know I went on a little bit of a rant there, but I've been wanting to really, really underscore, highlight, circle that in-demand products are your number one thing that you should be focusing on. Because if you do not have a few of those, your traffic is going to be very low. And if you don't have traffic, you can't get sales because no one can see it. You can have the best product in the world, but if no one sees it, they can't buy it. So if you have products right now that aren't selling, but you know that there's people out there that would like it, I agree with you, but they're not looking for it. So what we need to do is find products that they are looking for. We insert those into Etsy that will lead back to us in our shop, and then they can see our other products. And then we are able to sell them what they came in for, but then potentially what we also have to offer. So that's my long-winded answer there. And what I wanted to share here, because heading into Q4, if you want to crush Q4, you're going to need some of those products. And that's where I'd be spending my time if you're not getting the traffic that you think you should be getting. And I would be focusing on finding those in-demand products. So make sure that you do that. You spend the time on that. It's going to be time well spent. Chris, I think I just covered what I wanted to cover earlier. I think it just kind of fell into my lap.
I love that. I love that. It's almost like we know what questions are going to be asked before they get asked sometimes.
And was that helpful? Hopefully it was.
And I think that's the biggest sticking point for non-print on demand people is like, how do I do this?
Yeah.
And the answer is you have to figure out a way. And I think it was I am Manice said, I don't have a product that I can grow this way because my niche is kind of my product, right? And so is there a way for me to do this? The answer is you have to look to see if there's something comparable or figure out a way to change that niche or add a niche, right? That is something that you could add in some of those seasonal products. Now, it doesn't mean that you won't see an increase in sales in Q4 because anything that's selling now is just going to sell more, especially if it's something that's giftable, which I know based on what she said in the chat is an extremely giftable thing. I would be building that email list and trying to figure out how to drive as many of those people to the store as possible, really dialing in the Etsy ads and then going from there. I had one other one. Oh, I have Etsy. I'm using print on demand through Printify, and I want to start a Shopify. Can I use Everbee email? Would it be a good bridge for that? I would say any way that you can get started building an email list is a great bridge. And Everbee email is built right into your standard Everbee subscription, up to a few hundred emails. I think 250 are included in their standard plans. And so, yes, as long as you have an email list, you can use it anywhere. Now, they don't have the same level of integration at this point with Shopify that they do with Everbee, but it doesn't mean you can't use Everbee email to send an email to your Shopify store. You absolutely can. You just put in the link to where you want them to go, and it works like any other link inside of the platform. So if it's a way for you to get started building a list, absolutely take a look at Everbee email to do that. It's easier to use than most of the other platforms out there. And it's something that you likely already have built in, given the fact that you are using Printify and print on demand with Etsy. Do you see anything else sneak in, Scott?
Let's see here. Yeah, I had this one here. Great stream, guys. Quick question. If I have a 25% off sale and offer $2 off for favorites and $3 off for abandoned carts, do the discounts stack on only or only one applies? And Chris, I know you've answered this before, but why don't you answer it again?
Yeah, discounts on Etsy typically don't stack. I'm sure somebody will come up with a weird circumstance where they're like, oh, I clicked this series of 9 buttons, and then Etsy had a hiccup and it worked once and they stacked. Typically, they don't stack within the ecosystem. What Etsy will do is they'll take a look at any of the coupons that applied, be it a site-wide sale, an abandoned cart, whatever, and they will come up with whatever the best deal out of those things were. So the easy example to think about here, Scott, is if our 25% off sale on the store is 25% off, right? But we send a 25% off plus free shipping coupon to people as a thank you offer, then they would just apply the thank you offer coupon because that's a bigger net savings to the customer, right? They don't stack those things together. They wouldn't save 25% and then stack another 25%. Etsy doesn't do that. The one exception to that is an Etsy coupon. And we've seen this a few times. I have a feeling, Scott, we're going to see this more and more as we get into Q4, where Etsy runs a site-wide coupon where they say get $5 off a purchase. That will stack, but that money's coming from Etsy anyway. Yes, it does come out of our pockets in terms of seller fees and those kinds of things, but it doesn't come out of the sale. Etsy will give them that. So they can stack an Etsy coupon with one of our coupons or promotional codes. But other than that, Etsy will just pick whichever one is the best deal and give them that best offer.
Yeah. I know that's a common question that gets asked. All right, cool. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and let's wrap this up with some news that actually you had found and kind of shared it with me this morning. So actually someone just put a question there. How many times do you contact the buyer for a review before you stop? Okay, we'll get to that. We'll answer that afterwards because we are going to be talking about reviews. So Chris, I'm going to go ahead and tee this up for you, and then you can take her away. So let me go ahead and get her on over there. And let's see here. So it was brought to my attention that the review world, and that means like, anyone that's leaving reviews out there, and we're talking about Etsy, are things going to change? Is this the end of reviews? Well, actually, Chris Schaefer just brought it to my attention this morning that there may be something that's going to happen, not just with Etsy, but just reviews in general. And this could be, I don't know if it will be, but this could be the end of reviews. And Could it really be? So Chris, can you fill me in, please?
Man. And Scott, this one comes to us directly from the White House. Obviously not to us. Like, I'm not that important. They didn't email this to me, but because of all of the things that we do, this popped up and showed up on our radar. And on August 12th, the White House, meaning the president of the United States and all of the associated people, announced that they are launching an effort to crack down on everyday headaches and hassles that waste Americans' time and money. And I think they're even calling this, Scott, because everything political needs to have a good, catchy name, the Time is Money initiative. And there's a lot of things in here that are beneficial for a lot of different people. And, a lot of the news about this was talking about, oh, you can now like easily cancel Netflix. Cool. But that doesn't mean anything for e-commerce sellers, right? Like a lot of that wasn't very difficult in most cases anyway. They are making cancellations and memberships easier. So like no more signing up for Gold's Gym and them charging you forever and ever and ever because you had to find a one-eyed rabbi to sign your letter, right? And then mail it to them, right? That's going away if they get their way with the FTC. But from an e-commerce perspective, there were a few things that were important to us. And the biggest thing was, and you may remember this, well, two things, actually. The first is they're cracking down on what they call customer service doom loops. So basically they're saying, hey, if you're offering like customer service, you have to actually be responsible to people and responsive to people. And this, I don't think will really be as big of a deal for e-commerce sellers, but it's something, especially in the Etsy ecosystem, that we need to think about anyway. So Etsy helps score us, right? We have the star seller score on how responsive we are when customers email us.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that we're responsive for this. And really what they're talking about here is like phone support. You don't have to listen to a 30-minute message before you can actually say something. They want you to be able to do that. Hopefully, from an Etsy seller perspective, this means that Etsy's phone support will improve if you can get somebody on the phone at Etsy. But the biggest two things that really applied here or ensuring accountability for companies that provide bad service. So if we're not helping people on the customer service side, they're going to be rolling out some things through the FTC that will mean that companies are responsible for that. Now, we don't know exactly what those implications are until that happens, but that was the first thing that stuck out to me. The second thing that really stuck out to me here, and I need to see if I can find it in this specific article, was they're reviving an old FTC proposal. And you may remember this from last year, right? FTC, I think it was the spring of last year, the Federal Trade Commission came out and said, hey, we're going to propose a new rule about reviews and soliciting illicit reviews or endorsements, fake reviews, suppressing honest negative reviews, and some of these kinds of things, right? You can't pay for positive reviews because that's deceiving to customers about what real feedback around the product is. And this kind of fell off the face of the earth after the comment period expired last September, I think it was. But now that the White House is coming out and saying, hey, this is part of this Time is Money initiative, it means they are bringing this back to the table. And we can expect the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission in the US, to vote on this, which means they will be cracking down on reviews generally and the practice of asking for reviews. Now, the way that this is phrased is not that you can never ask for a review, right? But it's incentivizing reviews in any way. And so what are your thoughts on the implication of this for e-commerce as a whole, but specifically for Etsy sellers? Is this something Etsy sellers really need to be worried about? Or is it just kind of par for the course?
Yeah, I think it's par for the course. I think it's common sense too. Like I've never said, hey, give us a review and we'll give you 20% discount. Like I've just never went down that road. Although I know a lot of companies that do, and I still get packages in the mail that say, hey, leave us a 5-star review and we'll give you $20 off your next order, right? Like they're literally buying reviews in that case. So I've never done that. But I'm always sending a thank you email that will say something along the lines of, hey, thanks so much for your order. We appreciate it. If you have any questions, let us know. We always want to make sure that our customers are happy. And if you could do us a favor and just head on over and leave us a review on how we did, that would be amazing, right? That's it. So we're not necessarily saying like, hey, go here. And if you give us a review, we'll give you this. Now it's funny because even in the grocery store, they'll give you like something in return for if you fill out a survey, right? So, if you fill out this survey, you can get a free sandwich, or you can get a free, like, whatever, $20 off your next order of $100 or something like that if you fill out this survey. So they're kind of incentivizing you to actually do the survey because they know people won't do it unless you incentivize them. So I'm curious, like, where, like, I guess you can still do surveys because that's kind of like, it's not a review of a product.
That's not customer facing, I guess, would be the excuse there. And I think really what they're talking about is, hey, leave us a review, get 20% off your next purchase, right? Or leave us a positive review.
Yeah.
And
5-star.
Right. And that was the trick. If you guys have been around the Brand Creators channel for a while, you may remember when Amazon made this change, right? And Amazon came out and everybody's like, oh my God, it's the end of selling on Amazon because you can't bribe people to leave reviews anymore. Guess what happened? Absolutely nothing, right? And so the FTC coming out and saying, hey, let's use some common sense here, folks. Probably not that big of a deal from a downside perspective, right? Does this mean we can't ask for reviews? No. And I don't have the proposed rule pulled up. I did read through it at one point, Scott. Really what they're going after is fake and incentivized reviews. And so I see this only as an upside, because what this means is that you're going to see better reviews, theoretically at least, right? Assuming we implement the right version of this, we should be getting rid of the fake reviews, and it's going to be harder to game the review system because it's literally illegal at some point to say, hey, we'll give you 20% off if you leave a 5-star review. Or the alternative, if you get rid of your negative review or change your negative review, we'll give you something, right? And so what are your thoughts on dealing with negative reviews? Because one of the sub points here was suppressing honest negative reviews or paying for positive feedback, right? So we addressed the paying for positive feedback. We can't do that. We shouldn't be doing that anyway. It's just silly. What about the suppressing negative reviews? How should we handle a negative review?
Okay, so if we're talking Etsy itself, the way that we've always addressed it, and I don't believe we're going to change, is if someone leaves a negative review, number one, I'm going to see it and I'm going to reach out to that customer and I'm going to say, hey, I just saw you left a 3-star review because the product came a different color, or it came with a spot on it, or it came with the wrong size or whatever. I would then address that and say, I really wish you would have reached out to us, but I wanted to reach out to you to let you know we'll take care of it. Like, let me send you another one at no cost. You don't even have to send the other one back. I just want to make sure that you're happy, because that's what we're all about. And if you read through all of our other reviews, you'll see we have a lot of happy customers. So would you be okay with me doing that? Like, I would ask a question back and then see what they say. And we've done this, and people will go, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I'm not used to people, messaging me back, or from from Etsy or from Amazon or wherever. That would be amazing. I'm sorry I left that negative review. I'll go change it now. Like, they'll literally offer to go change it. I didn't ask them to. I'm just over delivering and showing them that I'm responsive and that I'm going to take care of them. Now, if that doesn't do anything, and they're just like, no, I believe in my review and I don't care, I don't want your products anymore, then I'll just go over to the review at that time. And that's where we would then comment on the review and say, hey, I really wish you would have reached out to us. And I would basically say something similar in that, to show the people that are reading it that I'm listening and that I tried to make it right. But I would not do that until I've already tried to do it behind the scenes, because once you do leave a mark on that, or a remark on that review, you can't change it. Like, it doesn't, it's kind of like, now it's concrete, it's in there. So nothing's going to really change as far as that goes. I just think if you can be open and honest and transparent and show that you want to go the extra mile, and you know what, you might lose money on that deal. It's okay, because you're going to make way more on a positive review than you are on that negative review. Right. So that's how I look at it. But some people are like, but I want them to send it back to me. I don't want them to have to. It's like, seriously, like, let's think about this for a second. We don't want to make that person any more unhappy, any more unhappy than they already are. Right. So we want to do whatever we can. So just eat it, because you're going to lose sales by not doing that. So I'm not sure if I answered your question there. I just went on a little bit of a review rant.
You said eat it, and now I just have Michael Jackson stuck in my head. I know that's not the lyrics, y'all, but it sounds close enough. That Scott made me giggle. I think the biggest takeaway for me is this is positive for buyers and sellers, at least from the way that the press release from the White House makes it seem, right? And so if this does get passed by the FTC, I don't think sellers really have anything to worry about. I do think, and this is something, Scott, you and I have talked about in the past, that the strategy you just talked about is something really important for people to understand. People get really worried about a negative review on a product. First of all, some people are just jerks, right? You can offer the best service and have the best product in the world. You're always going to get at least one negative review from somebody. And I think most people, and the Etsy buyer survey showed us this as well, don't hold that against you as long as there is a good response to that review. And what we saw there and what we've seen in the comments when we've talked about this in the past is that most buyers are okay with a negative review. And when they go to look at those 1-star reviews, they actually go to look to see how it was handled. And that then influences their decision. If you have a bunch of 1-star reviews that all say, hey, they never shipped me the product or they never did this, that's one story. If you have another 1-star review that's like, this person was a jerk, and you're like, hey, I emailed you 48 times and we sent you another one, sorry you had a bad experience, that spells out a very different story for the customer. And if we can focus a little bit on the common sense approach here, we don't have to worry about this change at all. And quite honestly, I think it's going to turn out to be a positive thing, especially on marketplaces like Etsy and Amazon, where we see that review manipulation can and does happen. And if we can avoid that and move more towards an organic review, a real review type system that is enforced and backed up by something like an FTC regulation, then sellers are going to benefit because buyers will have more trust in the reviews, and buyers are going to benefit, which means they will buy more because they can trust the reviews. So I think overall, at the end of the day, this is probably going to be a good thing.
I would think so. So regardless of how you're doing reviews right now, I would be careful, but I would also just follow up with people, do the right thing. Don't bribe people for leaving a review. Don't incentivize them. Just be real, authentic, and just do good customer service, and you'll probably get some positive reviews all on its own. So that's what I would say there. And just be good to people, and most will be good to you. All right. So Chris, do we have any other quick questions before we wrap up this stream? We're just about the 2-hour mark.
Beautiful Yours says, I have to rewatch this because someone sent me a follow-up message and I actually needed more service from them. So it works. Sending those follow-up messages works. And Beautiful Yours, there's no reason you can't watch this replay anytime you want. Sweden said, I'm not a fan of the Etsy star reviews. 99% leave a 5-star, but then there's one person who gives great feedback and only gives 4 stars. It should either be good or bad experience. Scott, what are your thoughts on the star ratings? Like a 1 out of 5.
Yeah, I mean, that is tough. And I mean, I kind of agree. I think it's tough if someone else put in there, like someone just left me a 3-star review with no explanation, So again, I would still follow the same protocol. I would reach out to that person, see why they left me a 3-star, try to make it right. But yeah, I mean, I think the stars, I should say, is there for us to visually see it. And I think we've all been conditioned and trained to know that 5 stars means great.
So that's actually an interesting point. When have you ever given a 3-star review?
Yeah. It's either a 1 or a 5 for me.
Right. And so it's like, oh my God, this was the worst experience ever. There was all kinds of hair in my soup. 1 star. Right. Yeah. Or like, it was great. And you're like, it was okay. Yeah. Like, you don't typically see, and that's actually why I look at the 3 and 4-star reviews, because you're like, this person maybe put some thought into it. Yeah. But really what people are looking at when they look at the reviews is that overall star rating. So they're looking, is it a 4.7 out of 5? And what we've seen from both comments and the Etsy buyer surveys, they say, if it's 5 stars, I'm looking at the reviews suspiciously. If it's 1 star, I'm looking at the reviews suspiciously. If it's like 4.8, then we're good to go.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. If you see all 5 stars, then I get a little nervous, right? Then I'm like, ooh, then I got to start reading to see, like, are these generic? Are these like, does it sound like they're real? you kind of want to see a 4.7. You know what I mean? You want to see
Yeah.
that. But yeah. So let's see here real quick. Janae. I've often tried to reach out to make it right, but never hear back. Kind of frustrating. It can be. But that's when you just got to kind of, put your head down and try to forget about it. Not easy, but that's probably the best thing that you can do.
Kind of like an email unsub, right? You can't avoid it. It's going to
No.
happen. You just have to, click the unsubscribe button for them. And when somebody writes you that nasty email or say, hey, I tried to reach out to you a couple times. Love to make this right. Feel free to reach out to us anytime, and we can help you out with whatever the issue is that they're talking about in the review. Sherman said, my sales are already ramping up from July. It's been quite amazing so far. I can't wait for Q4. I'm excited, Scott. I know we're just into the middle of August, and it seems like things are finally starting to pick up a little bit. Are you guys ready at this point for Q4?
Yeah, I think Lisa's really just kind of like trying to, like I said, trying to fine tune, trying to get things a little bit more streamlined. Had a couple of hiccups, nothing with Printify, although a couple of the suppliers that we were using, they ended up not offering the stuff anymore. So we had to find another supplier. And so there's been a few hiccups here and there. But I'm glad it's happening now, not in the middle of Q4. But yeah, I think are we ready? No, we're getting ready. You know what I mean? Like we're going through Q4 camp with our campers, and we're doing that right now, and we're following along as, whatever we're doing, we're sharing with them. And it's kind of like, we're thinking new products. We're thinking about optimization. We're thinking about, dialing up the Etsy ads, when we're going to do that, getting our email stuff in place. Like everything is, it's a process. And I will say this, like you and I, we've both said this, like this is not, it's not easy, right? Like I don't want people, like we've never sit here and go, yeah, just find the mug and sell $20,000 and your life is great. Listen, if you do $100,000 in revenue, you're going to be busy. Okay. You're going to be busy. If you see someone that goes, yeah, I only work 1 hour a day and I made $100,000, we're going to scream BS all over that. Okay. Cause that's not, I don't know anybody that's ever done that.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much BS?
25. We're spraying it all over the place. But yeah, so it's a lot of work, but it beats, like having a job for me, like personally, like I'd rather deal with that stuff because like my wife right now, she's usually sitting right over there and doing her stuff. And right now she's not. She's actually picking up my daughter from school, and she's going to stop to the market, and then we're going to go to practice tonight, and we're going to go together and we'll get a coffee and stuff, right? It's not as busy right now, but you get the flexibility. So it's okay. It's just like you and I, right? We've just taken 2 hours out of our day to come here and to serve this audience. It's like, we didn't get any paid. We didn't get paid for this technically. I mean, yes, we've got paid with your time, right? Or some of you might have bought us a cup of coffee through Everbee, or, someone might join our email list and maybe buy 123 pod fast track. Like, yes, but it's still work involved, right? We're still helping people. We're, answering questions. We're doing all this stuff. So you always have to ask yourself, like, and have to have real expectations. And I think that's what I want people to understand going into Q4 is, number one, expectations are like important. You have to have real expectations, but then as you start to kind of identify and maybe go through and say, oh, wow, I thought just doing $100,000 was going to be like awesome. And then you did it and you're like, oh, wait a minute here. Okay. I learned some stuff. I want to adjust some things. Right. So you have to ask yourself these questions as you start to grow. And so I just want people to realize that this isn't easy, but it is doable, and it's probably easier than something else that you're doing that might be harder. You know what I mean? Like and you're learning from this. Like, to me, I think you're building skills. Like anytime you're doing this online stuff, you're building a skill set that you'll be able to use forever. The email stuff that I'm teaching you guys, I've been doing that now for close to 20 years. Right. But I didn't know it back then. And I've kind of learned more as I'm doing. And that's the beautiful thing, is like this stuff is transferable to a lot of other things in business. And I'm going to probably say that this Etsy thing is probably something that you're doing now, but it'll probably evolve into something else, and you'll take those skills right along with you. So I'm going to leave it at that. If you guys, oh, Chris, did you have something?
No, you said it's not. What did you say? It's not easy.
It's not
but
easy. It's doable.
It is simple,
it's
right?
Simple.
And that,
yes,
that I think is the differentiation, right? Everybody says, "Oh my God, you can make $90,000 selling dancing avocado mugs on Etsy," and the answer is, yeah, maybe. But it's not that easy. The process to getting there is very simple, right? And we just broke that down. What is your number, right? How much money are you making per sale now? If you're not doing it now, figure that out. Go over to someplace like Printify, find the products you're going to be selling, write down that cost, calculate the Etsy fees with the Etsy fee calculator, something built into Everbee, right? You can use the Everbee one, and then figure out that profit margin. Once you've done that, then you find the in-demand products, the in-demand designs, create them, serve them to the audience, and do just a little bit of marketing, right? The process itself is very simple. The implementation is where people get caught up, and it's not the easy button, but it is a very simple process that pretty much anybody can implement if they spend a little bit of time, energy, and effort on it.
Yeah, I love this. Shervin says 50K a year requires busting ass. Couldn't imagine 100K. Yeah. It's, and as you scale, you throw that one back up again, Chris. I like that one too by Lisian. 20,000 a month of passive income from pod candles. Yeah. That's what we're seeing out there. You have to always shake your head when you see that stuff. I know it's eye candy. I know that people, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to go down that road. I'm at the point where I used to enjoy the cha-ching notifications on my phone. Now I'm getting annoyed. They're waking me up in the middle of the night. Turn off the ringer.
Shervin, yeah. There's a real easy solution to that. It's called do not disturb. Right? Yeah. Just throw your phone on do not disturb.
It's funny though, because I remember last year it got to that point for my wife. We'd be like sitting there and she didn't turn it off or whatever. And you'd hear it and she's like, oh my gosh, like another order. Like, you know what I mean? Like really getting kind of annoyed because it was like, oh, I thought it was going to slow down, or, oh, we turned off ads. You know what I mean? Like I thought it was going to slow down, then cha-ching, and you're like, really? And then you're like, oh, I hope it's not a personalized thing. Right. But it's like, but now, you've gotten yourself kind of like rejuvenized, right? Like, it's like my wife was, oh my gosh, as soon as the season was over, she's like, all right, boom, I'm done for right now. And then slowly you kind of work yourself back to like, okay, I'm ready for Q4 now. But that's how it was years ago for us too in the photography business. Like I said, like we would start like right now in August, we would start doing Christmas photos for families using an email list. By the way, I would always book ahead of time and let our customers know that came the year before, hey, we're getting ready to book. You guys know we book up, and once we do, we have waiting lists. And so we would fill those slots, but we were busy, back-to-back appointments, weekends, everything, but we did it for like 4 months straight. But then when you were done, you were like, a break, right? And you made enough money to carry you, for those 3 or 4 months while you were slow. And that's kind of how it is like on Etsy. Like it is really a Q4 platform. It really does well. Now, can you still make money during the rest of the year? Yeah, we are, but it's not like Q4. So start doing push-ups and start getting strong right now, because it's coming.
We need to get the Q4 training montage.
Yes.
Rocking and rolling. So you're saying she stopped hearing cha-ching and she started hearing
another one. Another one. Another one.
Love that. You love that little sound effect. Chris gets a new toy.
Another one.
Another one. All right. I think we're about fried at this time, Chris. I think we're good. All right. So that is going to wrap it up. If you are part of our Q4 training camp, we will be seeing you Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern time. Oh, I did want to say one other thing here. We are getting ready to start season 2 of our Etsy shop audits. So that's going to kick off in September. We've done 27 to date. We're going to do another batch up until January 1st. If you would like to submit your shop, and if you already have and you're part of our club, our Backstage Pass club, that is, if you're part of that and you haven't been, and you have not yet been reached out to do an audit, we're going to have you fill this in again. So if you would like a chance to have your Etsy shop audited by myself and Chris, and you would want us to do it, but then also we're going to publish that on our YouTube channel. If you would like an opportunity for us to do that, head on over to brandcreators.com/audit. Again, if you go to brandcreators.com/audit, you'll go there and you'll fill in your information. Okay. Probably take you 5 or 10 minutes tops. And basically from there, we'll reach out to you. We're going to be starting to book the next sessions here. And we're going to start recording those. And the way that it works is we record these in advance. So we release one a week when we're in season. So we're done with season 1. We're going to be heading into season 2. What we do is we batch record these with a live audience. That live audience is the Backstage Pass Club. And if you want to join the club, you can go to brandcreators.com/club, or you can just click join on the YouTube area here. But we're going to be reaching out and we're going to be booking the next batch of audit sessions that we're going to be doing. We usually do 2 to 3 in a recording session, and then we release them on the channel. All right. So if you'd like to be considered for one of them, you would have to come on camera with us, and we would basically just go through your shop and we would audit it. But if you want to get that done, you go to brandcreators.com/audit, and yeah, you could submit that. But yeah, that's all what we got for you guys here today. We're getting excited for Q4. We'll be back here next week. If you guys could do us a favor, though, if you've gotten value from this, smash the like button. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe. And if you haven't let one of your friends know about this channel that's into Etsy and e-commerce, make sure you share it with one friend. We'd appreciate that. All right, so that's it, guys. That's going to wrap it up. As always, take care, take action. We'll see you next time. Bye, guys.